Half an hour later, he was dead, having been shot in the head at point-blank range. Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you are well. My name is Gabby and today we are talking about the most notorious female gangster in Britain and some of the crimes, including murder, that she committed. This is the case of Linda Calvey. Linda Calvey was born Linda Welford on the 8th of April 1948 into what she would later describe as a respectable family in Ilford, Essex, and grew up in the East End neighbourhood of Stepney Green, London. She started down the path to becoming a career criminal when, in her late teens, her cousin invited her to a party for Mickey Calvey, a bank robber nearing the end of an 8-year prison sentence who was out on home leave. For Linda, it was love at first sight. She was under no illusion about his lifestyle and, despite warnings from her family about getting involved with someone like Mickey, was quite happy to enjoy the benefits of the stolen money. Before long, she was participating in robberies herself as a lookout. Mickey was back in prison for robbery by the time the couple had their first child, but this did nothing to deter Linda, and at the age of 22 she married him while he was still in prison, with him having to be brought to the wedding by armed guards. Less than 2 years after Mickey was released and with another baby on the way, he resumed robbing banks. On the 9th of December 1978, when the two children were 4 and 8 respectively, he was shot dead by a member of the police's flying squad during a botched robbery. Although officially ruled a justifiable homicide, Linda was adamant that the killing was unjust. During Mickey's funeral, when he was in an open coffin, she held his toes and said, "I'll avenge you by carrying on what you did." Shortly after Mickey's death, Linda was visited by one of her late husband's associates, Ronald Cook, who provided the widow with money to support herself. Although Ronald had a wife and children of his own, it wasn't long before he and Linda began a relationship. According to Linda, he quickly became controlling, telling her what to wear, following her when she went out with friends, and even threatening her son. "He bought me a ring and said I belonged to him," Linda said. "I said I didn't, then he said, 'Your son's such a pretty boy,' and I knew he was saying he'd do things to my son, and I was stuck." Sometime after, Ronald was arrested for robbery and sentenced to 16 years. It was while he was in prison that Linda's criminal activities escalated from hosting robbers in her home while they planned their next heist, to being a lookout, to becoming a getaway driver, and then eventually wielding guns herself during robberies, saying in 2002 that she loved the buzz of picking up a shotgun, confronting men in armoured vans and forcing them to hand over vast sums of money. She also said that she always thought the money was rightfully hers. In 1986, she was arrested for a string of post office robberies where staff and customers were sprayed with ammonia. At her sentencing, the judge stated that "this is an amazingly horrifying case. It must be the worst case I've heard in front of a British court. These robberies were carefully planned and organised. They were skillfully, effectively and ruthlessly carried out." Linda was sentenced to 7 years in prison, of which she served about 3. After Ronald had been sent to prison, he tasked a friend, Brian Thorogood, with looking after Linda. Brian and Linda soon ended up in a relationship, and when he was sent to prison himself, he introduced Linda to his friend and fellow incarcerated armed robber, Danny Reese. Linda and Danny became friends, then more than friends. In December 1990, around 18 months after she herself was released, Linda picked up Ronald from prison as he was out on day release and took him back to her house. Half an hour later, he was dead, having been shot in the head at point-blank range. Linda initially claimed that Ronald had been shot by an unknown hitman who had forced his way into the house shouting, "Get down, police," before shooting Ronald while she ran from the house screaming, a story she stuck to for years. Another version of events, the one that would prove to be supported by the evidence, is that Linda Calvey paid Danny Reese £10,000 to kill Ronald, having picked up Danny also on day release from prison the day before. Danny testified to police that although he'd accepted the job, he hadn't been able to go through with it, saying, "I couldn't kill him, I shot to his side, I froze. Linda took the gun from me, she shot him in the head." The claim that he'd shot to Ronald's side first was supported by the fact that Ronald was found to have a bullet wound in his arm, while Linda's involvement was supported by, among other things, a neighbour hearing her shout "Kneel" a moment before a gunshot rang out and the presence of her footsteps next to Ronald's body. At Linda's trial, the prosecution said that the motive of murder was to simplify the rather dangerous and complex state of her personal affairs, meaning her relationship with Ronald, Brian and Danny, as the apparently possessive Ronald would have soon been released from prison. Meanwhile, Linda continued to deny the murder, claiming that the man she'd been unfaithful to and who was supposedly abusive had meant everything to her, and she couldn't have killed him. The jury wasn't convinced and found her guilty of murder. Linda showed no reaction when the verdict was read out. She was sentenced to life with a minimum of 7 years before she was eligible for parole. The murder later featured in the memoir of notorious gangster Frankie Fraser, who wrote that Linda had killed Ronald so that he wouldn't find out what she'd been up to while he was in prison. She'd been minding his money, and when he came out it wasn't all going to be there, wrote Fraser. She got her new bloke to do him in, but he couldn't bring himself to shoot old Ron, so she did it herself. Linda continued to claim she was innocent while in prison, later changing her story from the unknown gunman onto saying that Danny Reese had snuck in and shot Ronald in the name of avenging Mickey, as Ronald had taken part in the botched robbery where Mickey was killed and allegedly deliberately put him in danger, and also was protecting Linda's son. However, the plausibility of this story is greatly undermined by the fact that Linda married Danny when they were both in prison. Linda Calvey was released from prison in 2008 after serving 18 years. After being released, she divorced Danny and married George Caesar, a millionaire who'd made his fortune from selling bleach and who was, as far as anyone knows, had no criminal connections other than marrying Linda. George wholeheartedly believed Linda's claims of innocence and dismissed warnings about the sort of person she was. He died of cancer in 2015. In 2020, Linda published her memoir, The Black Widow, which featured her story about Danny Reese killing Ronald to avenge Mickey. As the conditions of her bail forbid her from profiting from her crime, any money made from the sale of the book go straight to her 2 children, which arguably counts as loophole abuse. She still insists she's innocent of Ronald Cook's murder. So that was Linda Calvey. If you have any thoughts about this case, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear them. But until I see you again, please be safe, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.